the importance of Canadian unity in the face of Washington's threats. He also said the mutually beneficial system Canada and the US had shared since World War II has now ended. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Italian Cardinal Angelo Becciu announced he's withdrawing from participating in the upcoming conclave to elect a new pope. Becciu was once an influential Vatican chief of staff and once a leading contender himself. In 2020, Pope Francis forced him to resign because of allegations of financial misconduct. The 76-year-old denied wrongdoing but was put on trial in the Vatican Criminal Court. He was convicted of finance-related charges in December 2023. He's appealing the conviction and a 5.5-year prison sentence and has been participating in recent pre-conclave meetings. A war monitor and an activist group say clashes broke out in the Syrian capital of Damascus between local gunmen belonging to the minority Druze sect and pro-government fighters. At least 4 people were killed. The clashes broke out after audio circulated on social media of a man attacking Islam's prophet Muhammad. The audio was attributed to a Druze cleric who has denied being involved. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. The Cavaliers are the first team to advance to the second round in this year's NBA playoffs after a 138-83 blowout win to sweep the Heat. Donovan Mitchell was one of his team's 6 double-digit scorers with a team-high 22.
This is special. We've been doing special things all year, but we didn't come here just to sweep in the first round and get to the second.
In the West, the Warriors took a 3-1 series lead with a 109-106 win over the Rockets. Bucks guard Damian Lillard will miss the rest of the postseason with a torn left Achilles. Stanley Cup playoffs, the Panthers scored twice in 11 seconds in the third period to rally past the Lightning for a 4-2 win and a 3-1 East first-round series lead. The Stars beat the Avs 6-2 to go up 3-2 in their West first-round series. The Penguins fired coach Mike Sullivan, and the Commanders have reached an agreement on a new DC stadium.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today, with temperatures steady early then slowly falling throughout the day. Breezy southwest winds around 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 44. By Wednesday, we'll have a chance for some rain showers here late, increasing clouds, a high of 61 degrees. Thursday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 69. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 75.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the April 29, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Catch us on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Catch me on Substack. I got to catch up on some emails, guys. I know that you guys sent me a number of them, and I will get to them. Promise you that. As always, got to stay on top of those. So I'll catch all of our shows, as always, by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That's where you can get the short version and long version of Choose Views. That's what I like to call it, short version and long version. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. and check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform. Going to go over a couple of things that we have there, posts and so forth in a minute. But make sure you make your way over. And guys, go to our site website this weekend, Saturday. As you know, we have the 11 to 3 o'clock anniversary event up at Max and Benny's in Northbrook. So you can check that out as well and be plugged in while we have that live broadcast. On today's show, our guests include from the Morton Arboretum, Director of Exhibits, Managing Director of Exhibits, Amy Scott's going to talk a little bit about some nature things. I think it's important and how that links to our environment. And Bryce Covert from The Nation will be talking about some issues that are taking place with one of our big name companies in America, McDonald's, and some issues regarding an article that she wrote as they're dealing with some issues around sexual harassment. So we will definitely chat a little bit about that today. And topics, of course, include my ongoing question: what do you want to see the Democratic Party on a national level be focusing on right now? And that's going to be an ongoing. I'm going to be asking that question. I want to know what you guys are thinking in that space and how we can create an additional narrative or further a narrative regarding that. And your thoughts. The Reckoning, that's from our governor, J.B. Pritzker. We'll be speaking to that. Tariffs, of course, income equality and wages. And Representative Jamie Raskin on Trump's 100 days. So we'll get to a few items that I think are going to be important. Shout out to one of our listeners in Maryland, Rita P., who just went through some crazy stuff with some surgery, but success on the back end, and posted some things that I wanted to just give her a quick shout out to let her know we're sending you good vibes so that she can heal well. There you go, guys. I wanted to remind everyone about the anniversary event and how you can plug into that, because if you didn't get tickets, as you know, we sold out pretty quickly, which is exciting. You can still check out the event. So make sure you're plugging in when you're on your Saturday, this coming Saturday. So that should be fun for everyone. And looking forward to seeing a lot of current faces and maybe a couple of new faces, but most definitely we'll see some old faces as well. I don't mean chronologically old, but folks that have been part of the WCPT family. That's the great thing about anniversaries. I forgot to, not that I would forget, but this just happened yesterday afternoon. I got a LinkedIn connection from a guy I went to high school with. And this will make you guys laugh. Maybe you won't. That he said, "Hey, Richard, it's so-and-so." And I was like, oh, my God. And he said, you're going to laugh at this. He said, I wanted to send you an invitation. We're having our 45-year high school graduation party in July. Devin's like, what's 45 years? Dude's looking at me like, man, yeah, and this guy that sent it to me was a great dude in high school. He was just one of those, he fit into the category of someone that was kind of an outsider, but I always kind of attracted the outsiders, or looked out for the outsiders, the kids that my high school classmates that maybe weren't the athlete or in the band or in the special cliques and all the hoity-toity groups to be a part of in school. And where I went to high school, there were over the course of from kindergarten through high school, there were 9 black kids in the whole school. So, I maybe was a self-proclaimed outsider. Not really, but maybe. And so any of the kids who didn't fit in, they just became like, my buddies and young, and same thing with girls, buddy-ettes, as I would call them. Because they were treated differently. I saw that at an early age. They were treated differently. They weren't part of the cool kids and part of the different groups. And this particular guy was one of those people. And so it's interesting that he sought me out. But 45 years. Wow! When I saw that, I was like, really? Man, that was a while ago. So, Anyhow, a little bit of fun with an upcoming reunion. I got this late yesterday, and I was like, oh, man, do I even want to go? Yeah, maybe, but that's going to be interesting. Speaking of that, I joined this, I didn't join it, but I every now and again, I'll peek into this one website about people that you may have known in the past. I won't give the name of that site, but it was really kind of shocking, the number of people that, I kind of look at the 4-year, when I was a freshman who were sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and then as I went through the years, by the time I became a senior, who were the juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. And it was shocking to see the number of people that had passed away. I was like, oh my goodness. And so I did this back at the beginning of the year, just out of the blue. It reminded me of how important we have to value our life and our health and all the rest. So anyhow, not to get off topic, guys, but I got an invitation to come to the 45th reunion. I feel like it's a movie, like we're watching a movie. And see, I made Devin laugh. I got him, y'all. I feel like it's a movie where everybody, they've made some great movies about high school reunions and college reunions that always have turned out to be pretty good comedy. So in any event, let's get you guys a few of the Choose Views news items that are happening here on this April 29th, 2025. Is the craft beer revolution over? They're saying pour one for the beer industry. The market is in a slump with production volume down 1.2%, partly due to regulatory pressure, market saturation, and shifting drinking habits especially among sober-conscious millennials and Gen Zers. Once hot craft breweries are all struggling and experiencing their largest downturn outside the pandemic. Tariffs on equipment like kegs and aluminum cans, as well as shipping, have further hurt sales and forced small breweries to raise their prices to stay afloat. Offices are stepping up their lighting game. I found this one really interesting because this impacts all of us, wherever we may work and participate. Studies about artificial lighting's negative impacts on mood, cognition, and behavior have spurred an increase in corporate interest in workplace technologies that better simulate natural light. It's the latest frontier in the ongoing effort to lure workers back into offices in the post-COVID era. Think faux skylights and adjustable systems designed to align with circadian rhythms. And pop about that for a fancy word. Other options include harnessing chromotherapy, different light and color combinations to boost well-being, or employing glowing hallways that provide a disconnect from your designated workspaces. How about that? I think if companies invest more, this is what I talk about oftentimes about companies reinvesting in their people. That's a big deal for me. All right. Power, as you guys saw and heard, is getting back on track, being restored slowly with the major outage that took place in Spain and Portugal, crippling a big part of that region, as well as a small region in France. Yesterday, transport systems in cities, including Madrid, Lisbon, Porto, were all down, as well as traffic lights and cellular networks. That probably drove some people off the rails with not having access to their cell phones. Some disruptions were in airports, and that was also reported to cause some delays. Local authorities said there's no evidence of any cyber attacks at this stage, but they're keeping an eye on any possibilities. Canada had a great night last night. Mark Carney was, how do we put it? The person that put it back in the face of the beloved here in the United States. So looks like Canada's made their move. Is made in the USA now too costly? Making a truly all-American product during the Trump tariff era is either impossible, extremely difficult, or extremely costly, according to research from the Wall Street Journal. It spoke with executives or owners of various U.S. businesses and manufacturers of pickup truck organizers, coat hangers, and factory machinery, who are scrambling to adjust. In the case of Rapid Plastics high-end hangers, components sourced from China have doubled its price. Its owner says the federal government should make exceptions for specialized components. And this is projected to be a big week for the tech industry. Tech giants like Apple, Meta, and Amazon will announce their latest quarterly earnings report amid the new tariff environment, which has erased trillions of dollars from global stocks. Analysts anticipate that the Magnificent Seven tech firms would deliver an average profit growth of 15% this year, according to Bloomberg. Investors will be keeping tabs as subpar results could spark a sell-off and stoke further recession fears. 7-Eleven, yeah, that place you go for that big gulp, is looking at getting into the music industry. How do you like your Slurpees now? 7-Eleven has snagged the naming rights to Live Nation's When We Were Young, a pop group and emo festival held annually in Las Vegas. It's the first time Live Nation has sold rights for its U.S. festival through the entertainment giant. Though the entertainment giant has previously done so overseas with representing certain Live Nation events. Post-pandemic, advertisers are increasingly interested in experiential marketing, finding it an effective way to connect with younger consumers and build social media buzz. And here we go with tariffs once again are probably going to cut into the Prime Day. What's the Prime Day? Some third-party Amazon sellers that import items from outside the United States and from China in particular are choosing to sit out retailers' the Prime Day sale this July, according to Reuters. Though merchants often see a major spike in sales during Prime Days, the new tariff costs may make discontinuing impossible for many. This threatens to limit selection of discounts available to members, and that's going to be a big deal for a lot of the people that take advantage of Prime Days. So there you have it, guys. A couple of Choose Views news on this April 29th, 2025. We'll take a quick break. We'll take your calls. We'll start taking your calls when we come back. The number is 773-763-9278. It's Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, a group of Native American soldiers known as the Code Talkers became silent heroes. The U.S. military faced challenge of secure communications on the battlefield, and these men, primarily from the Navajo tribe, were enlisted to develop an unbreakable code. Using their native language, which had no written alphabet, they transmitted vital messages that were indecipherable to enemy forces. The code proved to be an essential asset, particularly in the Pacific Theater, where it helped the Allies win crucial battles. The Code Talkers' courage and ingenuity saved countless lives and turned the tide of the war. Yet, their contributions remained largely unknown until decades later. The legacy of the Code Talkers stands as a testament to the strength, resilience, and invaluable service of Native Americans during one of America's most devastating conflicts. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. A little bit warmer day yesterday and today, but that's nice. It's that time of year. Devin and I were talking about the importance of having functioning air conditioning and windows so that we can enjoy the breeze. And if you're going to be out and about, this is that time of year where you got to make sure you got some sunblock with you, because you never know. You don't want to take any chances. So just be careful, be smart. Over at Heartland Signal, a couple of really good posts and articles there that you guys will want to check out. Senator Pete Ricketts, Republican of, Nebraska, gets booed at his town hall after defending Trump's deep federal cut, saying, "We got to get our spending under control." The crowd said, "Pay your fair share." So you want to check that out. Down in Missouri, Democrats again stalled the GOP's effort to repeal paid sick leave for the second time this month. The Missouri Democratic Party, has blocked the Republican effort to repeal a paid sick leave initiative. And so this is to help to keep the guaranteed paid sick leave in place. And then one other thing that's happening in a southern state, for those who voted for him, Trump refuses to give disaster relief to Arkansas after severe storms killed at least 40 Arkansas lawmakers killed at least 40. The lawmakers are urging President Trump to reconsider denying federal disaster relief to the state. So it reportedly killed more than 40 people, weather patterns and storms. But these are, these states that have gone along with his garbage, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders is one in particular of the governors that talks about, cutting the federal budget. But as soon as they had any issues, guess what? Sarah's got her hand out, if not more. So anyhow, a little dig at Sarah. So I asked the question yesterday, who are the only 3 presidents in 50 years to reduce the deficit? And we got some great answers, but there were some that got it correct. So I'll let you know. Of course, in order, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. In 50 years. So we'll have some fun with this. I just got an invite to my 45-year high school anniversary. And in the 50 years or 45 years since I've been out of high school, Devin, the only 3 presidents. So that includes Carter, that includes Reagan, Bush 1, and Trump 1 and 2, have failed to, reduce the deficit. And also, in that process, work to balance the budget in a prudent way without cutting and slashing and dashing. Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. But Democrats get it wrong. Democrats are always the bad people. We're going to throw all the garbage and doo-doo at Democrats. Yeah, we all have to look in the mirror and work to do better. We get that. But in 50 years, there hasn't been a Republican. This is the real point. In 50 years, my post-high school, just barely my post-high school years, in 50 years, there hasn't been a Republican. Not one. But they're supposed to be the responsible financial leaders. But not one Republican elected to the presidency of these United States has reduced the deficit. Why is that, Republicans, MAGAs, GOPers, center-righters, fiscally responsible-ers? Why is that? I want to know. How come there's only been 3 presidents in 50 years? In 50 years to reduce the deficit. And each of those 3 are Democrats. Caught more hell, tax and spend Democrats, and all this other garbage. Meanwhile, during those same periods of time, here's the other side of that. Then I hear people complain about Dems they're not fit, they don't have their tax and spend, they don't know how to handle a budget, and they're going to take all. Meanwhile, during these same 3 presidencies, the other thing that happened, which is critically important, is, and this is a big one, these 3 presidents, each of them pushed for legislation to increase wages. Because at the end of the day, guys, during the Republican presidencies over the last 50 years, the biggest harm to our economy, the biggest, I don't care what anybody says, I have the data, so bring it. And guess what? I've got people behind me that have the data. They have pushed for legislation to increase wages while working to bring in more revenue from those that have super wealth by effectively changing and properly changing and mindfully changing the tax code so that the burden isn't on the middle class. I get sick and tired of hearing people say that the Democrats have forgotten about the middle class. Reducing our federal deficit is one of the most important pieces of legislation and success and pushing for betterment that a president can and should do, and in a responsible way. What Trump is doing right now isn't reducing the deficit. It's not. Somebody who's a MAGA or doesn't like what I talk about on the show, call me and let's have that conversation. Show me how he reduced the deficit in his first term and how in his first 100 days he's reduced the deficit. It hasn't happened. And it's not going to happen, by the way. This is a dude that's wrecked casinos. Okay? Let's be honest here. All right. 3 presidents, Clinton, Obama, and Biden, while pushing for legislation to increase wages and pushing for legislation to create a better balanced system. I trust Warren Buffett. I've never met Warren Buffett. I've read tons about him. I trust Mark Cuban far more than I trust any person, period, that assigns himself and aligns himself with the GOP. You know why? You want to know why? Because they built their businesses with smarts, with good people around them. They respect women. They understand. And there's no scandals about Mark Cuban and mistreating women. There's no scandals about Warren Buffett about mistreating women. It's about empowering women in the cases with their companies. They've made it clear that they know how to run their businesses and run them well. And when necessary, they've criticized presidents, both Democrat and Republican, but they've gotten aligned with the ones who have actually pushed for something that's critically important, and that's better wages for employees, public and private sector. And Mark Cuban and Warren Buffett have both said a set of things that's in the similar bucket, maybe a little bit differently, and that is we should be paying more in taxes. And I don't have the exact quote written down this morning, so I'm going to try to get to it to get to the meaning about what Warren Buffett said about if X number of companies paid the proper amount of taxes, we wouldn't have the deficits that we have, and others wouldn't have to pay taxes. That's coming from a dude who was a wealthy dude before all this uber wealth from trashing companies became popular, and has maintained that wealth. Mark Cuban, I'm proud to be able to pay the taxes. It was the year before last, or was it last year, whatever, $230-some million he paid in taxes. He said, I'm proud and blessed to be able, he didn't say blessed, that's my word, but I'm thankful to be able to pay the taxes. You remember that, Deb? Yep. He said, I'm in the country that I live in, the ability to do what I'm able to do, I'm happy to pay this in taxes. So I don't care what anybody that's GOP or center-right or MAGA or all the rest have to say about the conversation around Democrats. We have 3 presidents in 50 years that have reduced the deficit, and none of them have an R behind their name. So, literally, you can take that to the bank. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll grab a couple of calls. We'll talk a little bit further about this trash heap known as the Trump administration. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
They told us nothing but lies.
These timeshare thieves out there are terrible.
They bullied us.
Our timeshare is all a scam.
They stole from us. They were thieves.
I was completely taken advantage of.
Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder and CEO of Wesley Financial Group, and I know the tough spot you're in. Are you asking yourself, why did I buy that timeshare? I'll tell you why, because that presentation wasn't a normal sales pitch. It was a show to convince you that timeshare is a great investment. They told you it was available today and today only. They said you're foolish if you don't buy, and unfortunately, you believed them. We get over 3,000 complaints a week from folks just like you that were misled into buying a timeshare. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free information kit. 800-935-3377. 800-935-3377. 800-935-3377.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with temperatures steady early then slowly falling throughout the day. Breezy southwest winds around 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 44. By Wednesday, we'll have a chance for some rain showers here late, increasing clouds, a high of 61 degrees. Thursday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 69. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 73.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
All right, progressives, welcome back to Chew's Views. So yeah, we have to go forward. We have to push forward. We know that, but we also should identify as part of our conversation what the hell is it that is so sexy about Republicans when they can't reduce the deficit, haven't balanced the budget, and haven't really pushed for worker wage increases. Neither have they really gotten behind the reduction in taxes on the middle class and incomes under $400,000. They've never been advocates for that. So why in the hell would you want to get behind them? To protect this so-called southern border from the Mexicans that are come steal your stuff? What about the corporate executives that are stealing your stuff? And you're letting them do it. You're letting them do it, MAGA, GOP, center-right. You're letting them do it. Meanwhile, trying to give a head fake to the rest of the country that it's the Mexicans and the Haitians that are stealing your stuff and eating the cats and eating the... I mean, what kind of stupidity wakes you up in the morning? What kind of hate allows you to say, "Oh, those people are..." You're just... I've got to lean into something that progressives are kind of pussyfooting around on to empower folks. Let me just get to this. I'm hearing a lot of people say, we can't call, I'm hearing people in other shows, frankly. So I'm going to call this out. We can't call them stupid. It's not going to draw them to us. No, BS. If someone does something that's stupid, you call that action stupid. You may not want to call that person stupid. Sometimes maybe. But most of the time, to further the conversation, you can call their actions stupid or irresponsible or knuckleheadish without calling them a knucklehead. I'll give you an example. Pam Bondi, with her, if you criticize the president, we're going to, arrest you, that garbage that she put out last week. I put this on social media. I said, no, Attorney General Pam Bondi, that is a stupid thing, and it is a breach of our Constitution. So go back to school and reread that, or the Florida Bar Association should sanction you. That's not calling her stupid. That's saying what you said was stupid. So we need to back off this. We can't call, how are we going to draw conservatives to us if we're calling them stupid? They're going to think that we're going to be we're the elite, Dems or the libs. No, if they do something stupid, you call it a stupid action. And you let them know, I'm not calling you necessarily stupid. And again, let me be careful in saying this. That's how I approach it. That was stupid, or saying that was stupid, or saying that was dumb. I'm not saying you are, but your actions were, or irresponsible. Or some people say, well, you can't call somebody a racist. I can call their actions racist or sexist. Absolutely, I can, and I will, and I do. Unapologetically. So you guys, I'm empowering you to do that. It'll make you feel better to say that was stupid, but that was racist, that was sexist, and a lot more guys need to be saying that in the workplace. And I know we'll talk about this with Bryce in the 7:30 hour. But I wanted to talk about that because I got a couple people who were like, well, Chew, you can't call people stupid. Yeah, you can, but I would choose to call their actions stupid because then that keeps the conversation going. Let's come back to this thing about irresponsibility with Republicans in terms of our federal budget and our deficits and these tariffs. 46% of toy companies in the U.S. say they expect to go out of business within weeks. 128,000 federal workers lost their jobs in 60 days. 40% of cargo ships leaving China for the U.S. were empty. this past week. Shoes are expected to go up 87%. Apparel is expected to go up 65%. U.S. exports expected to drop 18%. Tourism is already down 20% in the United States, to the United States. All foreign goods up at least 10% on the U.S. dollar alone. Now, who was it that many people couldn't pronounce her name properly, said that these were going to be the things we were going to be dealing with, particularly talking about Christmas and how Christmas could be more expensive in 2025 if Donald Trump were elected to a second term. So when I hear people say, oh, she didn't talk to the middle class, she didn't talk to these people, she said it. And here it is, right in front of you, squarely in front of you. Kamala Harris said these things would happen. But oh no, didn't feed you that bowl of oatmeal just the right way. And so now you got a cold, nasty bowl of oatmeal. All right, let's grab a couple quick calls, Devin. Let's go to our good friend Kurt in Akron, Ohio. Good morning, Kurt, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard, and thank you for taking the call.
Absolutely. What's going on, my man?
Hold on a second.
Uh-oh.
Crap. I'm sorry. Are you there? I'm sorry.
I'm here.
Hey. Okay. Hey, you when you talked about Kamala Harris just now, and especially you white folks that didn't listen, and especially you white folks like me that didn't listen. Well, I listened, but they didn't. It kind of reminded me of that movie, White Men Can't Jump. Remember when Wesley Snipes said to Woody Harrelson,
yes,
you hear Jimmy, but you don't listen.
Yep.
So
I remember it very well. It was a great line, and then we all fall into that. None of us are immune to exactly that line. We all can be susceptible to that happening. So I don't want anybody to think I am preaching a little bit this morning in this space because Democrats have held it down when it comes to the deficit. 3 presidents, only 3 Democrats.
And I want to tell you that too. How do you convince someone, say in my age group, the Generation Xers, who only grew up with trickle-down economics, who made their living and technically survived for the past 50 years with trickle-down economics? How do you explain that to someone who's basically lived nothing but that and say there is something better than the trickle-down theory? And we were almost there with Joe Biden, to be honest with you. If we would have gotten 4 more years of him, or we would have gotten 4 years with Kamala Harris, we would have gotten further away from that trickle-down theory.
Yep.
And how do you convince people in that age group who were just being born or just very young 50 years ago when all this stuff started? Because to be honest with you, the last Republican president in my memory bank, not that I was alive then, and neither were you, Richard, is Dwight Eisenhower, who most likely reduced the deficit.
Yeah, and to that end, he was also the last rational without any scandal. He had his issues, but
he's the last legitimately elected Republican president too.
Well, and that did work to get the job done for as many folks as possible, and gave us that very, very stern warning about the military-industrial complex.
Exactly. And if you look at your history, kids, during those 8 years of Dwight Eisenhower, we had the most stable prices for 8 years. We didn't have the ups and the downs. We were stable for nearly 8 years during that entire period. And I'm not bashing the Democrats on this either. I'm just trying to state a fact that Eisenhower was, he would be probably a moderate or a moderate Democrat today. But
you know what he would be doing, Kurt, irrespective of where he sat on the spectrum of where he sat politically, Republican, moderate Republican, Democrat, whatever. You know what he would be doing, I believe? He'd be
like Colin Powell?
Yeah, he would be calling out the BS. That's what he would be doing.
Right. And if you think about it.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. You go.
I was going to say, if you think about it, Harry Truman offered Eisenhower the nomination in 1948 for the Democratic Party. It took Ike 60 years because he was a military guy. He didn't want to get military mixed in with politics. He didn't become a Republican until he left the military and decided he wanted to be a Republican and run for president in 1952.
Yep. So that should tell people a lot about where he was, what decisions he had to make. But fast forward to where we are today. I mean, one of the things that is clear, and you're pretty well read in this space, is the amount of times that the Democratic Party, generally speaking, has had to come in and clean up the garbage of Republican administrations. And I'll give you an example here locally. In the state of Illinois, whenever we've had a Republican governor, the few times that we have, but most recently Bruce Rauner, garbage. And J.B. Pritzker and a combination of a good team from Lieutenant Governor Stratton to A.G. Raoul.
Your next senator, by the way.
What's that?
Your next senator, by the way.
Yeah. And Kwame Raoul, our AG, as well as Susana Mendoza, our comptroller. Those folks have gotten it done. They had to come in and clean up the garbage of Republican administrations. Not to say Democrats have been perfect, but doggone it, they've come in and cleaned it up. And the same thing is true. You can look at so many different states. We're not just to make it a federal conversation.
Ohio. I'll give you an example. Ohio. We went from 1991 to 2000. Let me think here. 1991 to 2007. We had 2 8-year Republican terms. George Voinovich and Bob Taft. Mm-hmm. Bob Taft was terrible. It wasn't until 2007 that we got Ted Strickland, the first Democratic governor in the state of Ohio since Richard Celeste in 1980. Actually,
was it 80?
He was elected in 1983, or excuse me, 82, and then reelected in 86. So he was the last 2-term Democratic governor in the state of Ohio since the 80s. In fact, that's when Sherrod Brown was our Secretary of State.
Right.
But Ted Strickland was a victim of the times, and that's why he got voted out, because that was when the recession was really starting to hit in 2008, 2009, and then the Tea Party was really big in 2010, and that's when Ted Strickland got voted out in 2010 after 1 term, after turning Ohio around economically, oh, by the way. And then we got stuck with John Kasich. And then we had 8 years of John Kasich. And now we have 8 years of Mike DeWine. So I guess the pattern is 16 years of Republican rule, 4 years of Democratic rule. So I guess we're due for another Democrat in the state of Ohio.
And maybe it'll be Sherrod Brown. We'll see. But, hey, Kurt.
I really want him in the Senate.
I know.
Want him back in the Senate.
I agree with that. But he wouldn't make a bad governor if that's the direction he chose to go. So
exactly. And by the way, real quickly, if you remember the pattern here, Bill Clinton took office after a major recession between Reagan and Bush for 12 years.
I know.
And it took him 2 years to get things back on track, because that's how long it takes, kids, for a new president's policies to go into effect. And then obviously Obama had the Republican recession of 2007, 2008, 2009, and that took 2 years, because by the time he was up for re-election, 2011, it started turning around.
Yep.
And then, of course, Joe Biden had, the Great Plague and everything else that happened. So,
I mean, and the evidence is right there. It's overwhelming how Republicans have not just trashed our economy. They've trashed wages. They've trashed our tax system. Dems come in, they clean it up, they fix it. They don't make it perfect, they make it better. But people are impatient. People are they want it now. Daddy, I want it now, and it doesn't happen that way.
And here's the thing too. It's like Tom Hartman talks about, the 2 Santa Claus theory.
Right.
The Republicans will go and spend, put it all on the public credit card, like Bush's 2 wars, and then the Democrats are forced to make the hard decisions. That's what it comes down to.
Yep, exactly. Kurt, thanks for being with us this morning. I got to try to hit this break on time. Always appreciate your contribution, man. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There you go. Let's hit a quick break, Devin. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. That's 800-365-6303.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
All right, progressives, got something for you. A little spicy clip that Devin and I put together, we call it in the heart of this conversation about economic issues and what people voted for and why. We call it Why Your Life Sucks.
It doesn't suck because your neighbor doesn't speak English. They pay taxes, raise their kids, drive to work before the sun rises. You don't need to understand their words to see that they're doing exactly what you're doing, just trying to survive. Your life doesn't suck because a trans man used the men's bathroom. He went in, he came out, the world kept spinning, it just wasn't around you. The problem was never children learning what a pronoun was. It was never about grammar. It was never about protecting kids. Your life probably does suck, but not for the reasons you post about. Not because your favorite store sold a rainbow shirt or because you had to press 1 for English. Not because someone said Latinx or they, them in a tweet that you didn't have to read. Your life might suck because you're drowning in debt, because your rent just went up again and the only thing that trickled down is exhaustion. That pain is real. But it's not the fault of the cashier with pink nails or the kids with a pride patch on their backpacks. Someone's life today sucks because they lost their daughter when a man with a gun walked into a school and made it a graveyard, and the politicians that you voted for sent thoughts and prayers and money to the NRA. Someone's life today sucks because ICE knocked on their door before breakfast was even made, and now their father is gone, disappeared into a system designed to forget him. Someone's life today sucks because they came out to their family and were met with silence or fists or Bible verses thrown like bricks. And if you ask me if I care that your life sucks, I don't. I will look you in the eye and say, I don't. I don't care that your life sucks. Not if your definition of pain is seeing someone different than you exist without apologizing. Not if your idea of oppression is having to share space with people you don't understand and never tried to. I don't care that everything going wrong is exactly what you voted for, that the man you chose did what he said he was going to do, and now it's affecting you. I care about the millions who voted against it, who stood in long lines of broken systems with shaking hands and steady hearts trying to hold back the tide. I care about the people you hated so much you were willing to vote against their right to breathe, to marry, to walk into a store without fear, to learn history that includes them. And somehow you want sympathy? Try empathy first. Try waking up in a world where your very existence is debated by strangers in suits. Your life doesn't suck because someone else found a little joy. It doesn't suck because someone else got rights you already had. It sucks because the people in power told you who to blame and you believed them. You were sold a scapegoat and called it salvation. But you can still unlearn it. You can still sit down, shut up for a second and listen, because not every cry is about you. Not every protest is a threat. Sometimes it's just people fighting for the right to live without asking for your permission. So maybe your life does suck, but it's not because of pronouns, or food stamps, or hair dye, or immigrants, or love. It sucks because you keep mistaking comfort for freedom and cruelty for strength. And that's on you.
That is probably one of the more powerful pieces that we've been able to come across and been able to provide for you guys. I'll send it to you if you want it. It's just email me and Richard at WCPT820.com. And the reason that it's powerful is it's coming from there's a couple reasons, but as in my interpretation, to be fair, is that it speaks to the things that a lot of times, people want to say, I voted for, the price of eggs, the price of gas, these things that were kind of distractions and maybe, the window dressing, but not real substantive. And I like how she breaks it down and says, no, these are the reasons why. Let's be honest. It's because of this. And now you want to blame. And still, this is the part that's the kind of the underbelly of what she's saying. And you still want to blame somebody else for the decision you made to vote for this garbage, meanwhile telling everybody else that you knew better. But now that the decision that you made hasn't turned out so well, you still want to blame those people who didn't try but told you, starting with Vice President Harris. So every now and again, and I know you guys are smart folks and you can hear it in the tenor and tone of my voice, I get a little spicy, a little salty, because I want to get people's attention on all conversations that we can have. Not trying to be perfect in that space, but doggone it, you know, the reason I wanted you to hear this clip today is because I said earlier that, you know, talked about not calling people stupid, but referencing their actions as stupid. The decision by the 78 million people that voted for Donald Trump, for some, it was about creating pain and suckiness for other people, as she said. But for some people, it was just a stupid decision. And until we have the temerity to call it that, we're failing ourselves and failing our body politic. We have to call the decision a stupid decision. Don't be afraid. Be encouraged to tell people that was a stupid decision. Look at the outcome of it. You have to you have to rally yourself to do that. Stop going after Democrats. The reason that that Ken Martin decided that he was going to kind of have to drop the hammer on David Hogg is because David Hogg was recklessly about to go after Democrats. Some that need a little kick in the booty to move a little bit faster and stronger and better, no doubt. But his methodology was faulty. It was without the experience needed to get the job done. That's why I wrote my piece on Substack. It is not appropriate to nastily go after Democrats right now. It's more appropriate and more effective is to rally Democrats who didn't do things, that sat on the sidelines. And they're not just Democrats, by the way. There's a lot of Republicans that sat on the sideline. It's to rally those people to not make a stupid decision again and not be involved in this thing we call politics. No longer do we have the luxury of saying, I don't do politics. I'm going to say one quick thing. We're going to go to a clip. There's a lot of stuff flying around on social media and all over media about Saquon, help me out, Barkley, who is a running back for the Philadelphia Eagles, who won the Super Bowl, of hanging out with Trump. This is my point that I want to make about this. He made a statement about don't make this about politics. Saquon, this is where your youth doesn't favor you. The simple fact that you went and hung out with this dude at this time makes it makes you vulnerable to criticisms and political conversation, because you're either not paying attention or you are paying attention and you chose to use your privilege to go in and sit with this dude. Be damn respecting the office of the presidency. He's disrespected that. So how can you put yourself in that line of fire knowingly? So the people around you, either you didn't listen to or that you got the wrong people around you. If I was standing in front of you, I'd tell you the same damn thing. Take a lesson from your quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who made the decision to say, I'm not going. He stood on his business. And we as Democrats progressive liberal Democrats have got to be willing to call it out on our side and then embrace the move forward. If we don't, then that's our fault. At the same time, though, when I say call it out, I mean call out what Republicans are doing that is stupid in terms of their actions. And so what she says about why your life sucks is spot on with me, and I can get behind that 100%. Devin, before we hit this break, let's go to the one clip from our own J.B. Pritzker. We call it The Reckoning.
What I find ironic about the current conversation surrounding our party is that the voices flocking to podcasts and cable news shows to admonish fellow Democrats for not caring enough about the struggles of working families are the same ones who, when it comes to relief of the struggles of real people, have been timid, not bold. They didn't want to fight the health insurance companies and the drug manufacturers. They didn't want to demand an increase in the minimum wage or require paid family leave. They gave in to the powerful hedge fund managers and tech bros whose blind pursuit of profits is now destroying everything that matters to middle-class families, from home ownership to health care to veterans' benefits. They told us to ignore the fact that most Americans can't afford a vacation while they're young or a retirement once they're old. Here's the problem with the do-nothing crowd, now telling us what to do. Well, they spent their years watching Republicans illegitimately pack the Supreme Court, take away voting rights from people of color, systematically chip away at the constitutional order. And all the while, they offered, in response, a simple defense of norms and decorum and a blind hope that one day soon, Republicans would wake up to find their better angels. Well, that got us exactly where we are today. So, folks, the reckoning is here. And now that this culture of timidity is on full display, those same do-nothing Democrats want to blame our losses on our defense of black people, of trans kids, of immigrants, instead of their own lack of guts and gumption.
It's a very powerful piece. I'll send it to you. You know how to find me. Just email me, richard@wcpt820.com. I'm talking about this in this segment of the show because I want people to understand how committed I am to, I can say what Democrats are doing that it hasn't been perfect all day long. However, I'd rather spend my time talking about what Democrats have done successfully and how we do better and have more of that, and kick Republicans to the doggone curb, and kick those soft, mealy-mouthed Democrats to the curb for criticizing us for trying to get something done. Why would we not want to live in a country where we embrace all the pieces of the country that we say we are all about? If not, then you probably don't want to live here. Maybe you should go back to where you came from, rather than telling somebody else to go back to where they came from. And this is our country. Well, then do a damn thing about making it better. And not great again, but making it better. All right, y'all, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the 1830s in Lowell, Massachusetts, during the rise of the textile industry, factories were hiring large groups of women ranging in ages 18 to 35 to work at their mills. The workdays were 13 hours long and had poor working conditions. By 1834, the textile market was sluggish. In response, the workers' wages were reduced by 12.5%. One of the workers, Julia Wilson, tried to organize the women to get their wages back, only to be terminated abruptly. Wilson signaled the women to strike or turn out. Over 800 women marched and signed a petition saying we will not go back into the mills to work unless our wages are continued. Ultimately, the strike failed, but they learned from their mistake and successfully battled back a rent increase on their boarding houses 2 years later. By January 1845, about a dozen of the Lowell female textile workers came together to form the Lowell Female Labor Reform Association. This would become the first organized union of women workers in American history. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're working for your rights.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
AP News. I'm Marcela Sanchez. Chinese authorities say 22 people have been killed and 3 others injured in a fire at a restaurant in the northern city of Liaoyang. It's still unknown what caused the fire, which broke out shortly after noon. Authorities in Indian-controlled Kashmir have temporarily shut down more than half of their tourist resorts in the Himalayan region as a precautionary measure. The decision comes a week after gunmen killed 26 people, mostly Indian tourists, near the resort town of Pahalgam. India has described the massacre as a terror attack and accused Pakistan of backing it. Pakistan has denied any connection to the attack. Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal Party has won Canada's federal election, marking a defeat for the Conservatives, who not long ago thought victory was within their grasp.
Before the election, President Donald Trump had attacked. Trudeau had resigned, and Mark Carney, a 2-time central banker, became the Liberal Party's leader and Prime Minister. In a concession speech, and with his own House of Commons seat still in doubt, Pierre Poilievre acknowledges Carney's win.
We'll have plenty of opportunity to debate and disagree, but tonight we come together as Canadians. We will do our job. Yes, we will do our job to hold the government to account.
Carney, in his victory speech, issued a rallying cry for a united Canada.
These are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen.
Carney also told supporters, our old relationship with the United States is over. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Power has almost fully been restored across Spain and Portugal. By 7 a.m. local time, Spain's electricity operator, Red Eléctrica, said more than 99% of energy demand in Spain had been restored. Italian Cardinal Angelo Becciu announced he's withdrawing from participating in the upcoming conclave to elect a new pope. In 2020, Pope Francis forced him to resign because of allegations of financial misconduct. This is AP News. The U.S. Education Department is asking an Ivy League school to apologize and strip a prominent transgender swimmer of her career awards.
The Trump administration says the University of Pennsylvania illegally denied women equal opportunities by letting a transgender swimmer compete on the school's women's team and into team facilities. The administration's statement Monday doesn't name Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer who last competed for the Ivy League school in 2022, but the investigation opened in February by the U.S. Education Department focused on Thomas, who became a leading symbol of transgender athletes and a prominent political target.
3 Chinese astronauts will have to wait a bit longer in outer space after weather conditions postponed their return to Earth. The 3 were set to land Tuesday after spending 6 months away from our planet. 2 of the astronauts, Kai Su-cha and Song Ling-dong, conducted the world's longest spacewalk during their mission, a total of 9 hours. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with temperatures steady early then slowly falling throughout the day. Breezy southwest winds around 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 44. By Wednesday, we'll have a chance for some rain showers here late, increasing clouds, a high of 61 degrees. Thursday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 69. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 75.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get your second month free for a limited time. You'll get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month. Here's Veronica and Jackie, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
And now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free when they use promo code SECONDFREE. Just call, click, or bring us your bill and see how much you can save. Because when it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and use code SECONDFREE to get a free second month. Real people pay to share their opinions, and this ad plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, welcome back to Choose Views Progressive. Thanks for being with us this morning. 773-763-9278. There's all kinds of things that come from having an environment that's healthy, that's prosperous, that's growing, that's safe. And I say this oftentimes on this show, 10 of us could be walking down the street alongside of one another. That'd be a big street. And we're all breathing the same air, which is why our environment is so critically important. irrespective of where someone might sit on certain political issues, the air we breathe is super important. And trees are a big part of that, as are other forms of foliage. So as part of my introduction, I wanted to just to chat about that, or say those words this morning, because with us this morning is the head of exhibitions at the Morton Arboretum. You got to say those words slowly so you don't mess up. And that would be none other than Amy Scott, who is the head of exhibitions at Morton Arboretum. Good morning, Amy, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have you with us. I love what you guys do. And the reason that I love it is I've never necessarily positioned myself as being the most environmentally, savvy and top of the heap person. But I do recognize the importance of our environment being cared for and doing a better job. All of us can do a better job. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about Morton and the importance that it has at large to our environment.
Yeah, so I am the head of exhibitions at the Morton Arboretum. We are located in Lisle, Illinois, and we're all about planting and protecting trees. And so we do a lot of work and conservation and research on the environment and trees, and also just wanting to provide opportunities for people to get out and explore and connect with nature in whatever way works with them, and also connect with each other.
Well, this year, you're celebrating, is it the 20th anniversary of the Arboretum Children's Garden? Is that correct?
Yes, it's our 20th anniversary of the Children's Garden, which is a 4-acre outdoor play space. It provides hands-on play for kids and families, and we have programming most of the year for kids and families to participate and learn more about nature and the world around them.
So tell me a little bit about this in terms of, this 20-year celebration, 20-year anniversary, and what children are participating in. Are age groups? Are they 3 to 10? What are the age groups? What are some of the things that they've been doing and been able to actually do? Are they planting trees? What's really happening in that space?
Yeah, so every year we have different programming. The programming is really for kids. I think that usually I am not the expert in the Children's Garden. I'm more about the exhibitions, but we do have, I think, programs from 3 to about 10. And especially this year, we have our exhibition Vivid Creatures, which is our newest art exhibition. It's opening May 17th, and it is features 5 large-scale, beautiful animals that were inspired by the animals of native Illinois. And the Children's Garden will be offering special programming every weekend called Vivid Creations Art Workshop, because the exhibition is called Vivid Creatures. And it's open on the weekends, where children and family can create their own works of art that are inspired by our sculptures at Vivid Creatures. So they'll learn about different art materials. They'll have different workshop creations inspired by a different sculpture each month. And then they can create their own and be inspired by what they see at the Arboretum.
So it's a walking tour, correct? Is that kind of how it plays out as one of the exhibitions?
Well, so the exhibition itself, you can walk to. So we have 4 of the 5 pieces are available and on an accessible path right in our main core area near the visitor center, all within a mile walk, which is also where the Children's Garden is located. And so you can see a huge 22-foot tall buck that is just absolutely beautiful. There is
Wow.
our sandhill crane that is 16 feet tall with a wingspan of 26 feet long. We have our dragon.
Wow.
Yes, these are huge. We have a dragonfly that's 23 feet tall with a wingspan of 30 feet long. These pieces are just absolutely gigantic, and they're so colorful and fun. I think that families, people of all ages, will just really enjoy them. And those are all accessible within a 1-mile walk on a paved path. We do have one other piece that will be up at the berm on I-88 overlooking the highway, once where our Joe the Guardian Troll once stood. Very popular piece in the past. and this is our Spectra, our snail, and that one does require a little bit of a climb up a hill, but these pieces are just so much fun for the family and so much fun for people of all ages.
Well, I guess the word vivid is appropriate in labeling this in terms of the size, just the sheer size of them, yet alone the colors that come with what you guys have been able to put together. So, Amy, tell our listeners a little bit about where, I guess the word comes to mind is origination of this particular sculptures in this work that you guys are displaying. Tell us where that originates and how it gets to Morton.
Sure. We found the pieces are done by artists Heather Baguettes and Fez Baguettes. They're based out of Portland, Oregon, and they each create work individually as well as together. And we found their work online, and just the scale of their pieces, the colors that they use were great for our landscape, but also you could tell within their pieces that they each had their own deep connection to nature and wildlife. And so we started speaking with them. They visited us in 2023, met with our staff. They explored our grounds, learned a little bit more about the Midwestern ecosystem and the animals that are native here. And that's what inspired these pieces. And so they created these 5 pieces over the last few years. And so we have Generosity, the buck, we have Spectra, the snail, we have Scamp, the squirrel, and we have Nimbly, the dragonfly, and Cadence, the crane. And each one talks about or touches upon a different aspect of nature and the ecosystem that is involved with each animal. So, for example, Generosity, the buck, has these beautiful antlers that look like oak branches. And within those oak branches are, live, leaves growing and life living within them. And so there's just different details that were painted onto each piece that kind of discusses a little bit about that cyclical nature and cyclical patterns in nature that we all find. And it just showcases the importance of the ecosystem and how we all support each other's existence.
Well, and thank you for that. This is a political-esque talk show, social issues, economic issues, and all the like. So I'm not going to drag you down that path necessarily, but I do talk about the intersection of community. Yesterday we had a professor on talking about the stress that comes from folks being and living in a silo emotionally, and when there is a death, and when there's a death by suicide. And the reason I'm sort of linking this to where you are is she talked about the importance of community and getting out and connecting with other folks and the spirituality that comes with and from that. And it seems to me that this is one of the things that you guys have really sort of captured and cornered, and that's the importance of getting out into the community of nature and working really hard. Morton has worked really hard to get people to come out and really see what the not only the beauty and vibrancy of these 1,700 acres are, but how it also lets you connect to the community of nature. Do you get that sense, or do you feel that as the head of exhibitions there?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think that not only do we have research proving that spending time in nature is so beneficial to everyone's health, but yes, connecting with others is that's what we're about, right? It's all about human connection and connecting to nature. And so I think it's so important. I think the exhibition, I think the children's garden, I think all of the different things that we do, all the different programming that we do on the grounds at the Morton Arboretum are so important. It gives people, and like I said, it gives people an opportunity to connect in different ways that work best for them. Everybody's so different, and I think there's different opportunities for everyone to connect with each other in whatever way works best for them. And I think Morton Arboretum really provides a wonderful place to do that in such a beautiful setting. And we offer different education programs. We offer, we have Wonderwoods mini golf returning this year if people want to play mini golf together.
I saw that, yeah.
So we really do offer, we offer different ways for people to connect. We also go out outside of the grounds and and do a ton of programs across communities and meet people where they're at as well. So I think the Morton Arboretum does an amazing job at bringing people together.
You have folks that come from all over the world to Morton Arboretum, and tell us what that's like to have people come to, from any place on the planet to see and experience this internationally recognized and known just botanical garden. What's that like to see that?
Yes, it's amazing to know that we're doing work that's so important to international audiences and to different researchers and scientists around the world, as well as people who appreciate the different collections that we have. We have some amazing collections. We are a museum of trees. We are a living collections museum, and so we are highly respected. And I think that it's such a source of pride to that we are able to do this work.
I've really, when we've had different guests on the show that have talked about the environment or talked about some of the geographical and topographical benefits of where we are in this part of the country. It's part of the Midwest. The president of Cook County, Tony Preckwinkle, has talked about the importance of our forest preserves, and I know that you guys have kind of a similar way of approaching the importance of the Arboretum because of the fact that we really enhance. We've been able to be an enhanced region because of the forest preserves, but also because of the amount of parks and land that we have to do the work that the Arboretum has been able to do. This is a busy season for you. What are some of the things that are kind of on your list of got to get this done, got to be ready for this, because these next 4 to 6 months are going to be very busy for us in terms of our exhibitions?
Oh, right now I'm in the process of installing these sculptures. That's busy for me. They just arrived yesterday, so we are in the process of that. We have Wonder Woods Mini Golf opening May 23rd. That will be open through the summer until Labor Day, and then we have Illumination, which is our Winter Lights holiday exhibition, and that opens in November. So there's always something going on at the Morton Arboretum. We have plenty happening.
For folks that want to not just follow you, but actually come out, that want to join, that want to take a tour, that want to come and see some of the exhibits, walk us through the different ways in which that can happen.
Yeah, so anybody can go visit mortonarb.org just to get some basic information about our days, our hours, our admission fees, the different things that are happening at any given time. All of our courses, programs, and exhibitions are listed there. And we're located in Lisle, Illinois, and so anybody can just come on out. We're open 7 days a week, and then visit us. Please take the opportunity to come explore. I think that we do a great job of providing ways to just motivate people to get out and explore our grounds. You can do an easy walk around some paved paths, or you can go out into a wholly different area in the woods and walk there and just have some peace. So we have 1,700 acres. It's a lot of room to explore.
So I don't know. I may have to find my way out to the Wonder Woods Mini Golf because, but Amy, thank you so much. Not only for being with us this morning, but having an appreciation and a respect for nature and what it can do to continue to provide community for so many of us. And a shout out to your current exhibit, Vivid Creatures, and all the excitement that's going to bring. I could see the smile on your face as you described what that's going to look like. So we really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Amy Scott, head of exhibitions at the Morton Arboretum in Lisle, Illinois. Thanks for being with us, Amy. We'll talk with you soon. Have a great day today.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, guys, if you get a chance, make your way out there, because if you're in the area, obviously, but if you're coming to Chicago, put that on your list. And I should probably do a better job when I talk about things to do in Chicago on Fridays. But put that on your list of places to go. If you're going to be in the Chicagoland area, it's a great place to go and just check out nature. And as she described, lots of great paths and wonderful exhibits and things for you to take in. Why don't we grab a quick break, Devin? We'll come back and get some of your calls. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is Tony Moray. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's Morey spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views. Yes, make sure to check out the Morton Arboretum. Really a great place to go and hang out for an afternoon. So put that on your list. I will say it that way. One of the things that we talked about last week, and I've talked about kind of every day, is this whole conversation around schools defending themselves as a group and as an alliance rather than as a community, to use that word, rather than one-off with this craziness that's coming from the Trump administration. And the University of Illinois faculty votes to join the Big Ten Alliance to defend against Trump's attacks. I think it's great. The resolution adopted yesterday to join the Mutual Defense Pact with other Big Ten schools is a way to blunt the Trump administration's aggressive posture toward higher education. University of Illinois is the first university in Illinois to join the Big Ten Mutual Defense Pact, which has now been adopted by a growing list of Big Ten universities as faculty push to create a unified front to defend academic freedoms against the Trump administration's attacks. That's what has to happen. What's happening to our country, this is a quote that's coming from the university, what's happening in our country in relation to higher education, international students, scholars, and funding is seriously wrong, and we have to fight. And that's coming from Professor Christopher Weaver. So it's good to see that. And I'm proud of the university for that. I'm proud of the other Big Ten universities. Hell, I'd love to see every college, university, junior college, trade school, the list is massive, to come together. Hell, I'll head the call. That's the clarion call, to come together and say no to Donald Trump publicly, repeatedly, forcefully. Tell him no, to go sit his behind down. Education, or the gentleman, the clip that we had yesterday from the gentleman from China saying that America has failed itself by not reinvesting in its people, that is an honest statement. The problem is too many arrogant Americans don't want to hear it. Don't tell us what to do. Meanwhile, other countries, China being one of them, are just running right past us. Just running right past us. Now, for those who are out there going, oh, Chu hates America, Chu. No, I love my country. I love it to death. And in many ways, as Coach Doc Rivers in the NBA has said, I love this country more in many ways, and it's loved me back. That might be a little bit of insanity, but that's the truth. So when I say that countries like China have run past us because we have failed to re-educate our people, that's the truth, y'all. Somebody come to me with something different. Challenge me on that. The problem is, and this current administration, attacking universities for educating people is just another example of pushing us backward. Because they're not saying what you want to say. They're talking about things that you don't necessarily want to hear or make you uncomfortable. Well, hell, there's millions of people in this country that have had to listen to garbage from Republicans for decades that we didn't want to hear. So suck it up and deal with it. Leave the universities alone. But if the administration is not going to leave you alone, universities, guess what? Come after them with a vengeance. Be prepared. Don't do it as one-offs. Join these mutual defense pacts as a collective body, as a community, so that you're prepared. You know, bully, smack the bully right in his and in her faces right now, because some of this has got to. I'm not going to speak for women, but I know it's got to be ticking off a lot of progressive liberal Democratic women to see, these misrepresentations of what we would like to believe is important to the greater body of women in the country as part of this administration. I've got to believe that that's got a lot of the ladies really ticked off. And I've heard and seen on social media and other places that it is. But at this point, we fight back. We don't lean backwards, we lean forwards. Have to do it that way. Let's try to grab a quick call before we get to the bottom of the hour. Let's go to George in Oak Park. Hey, George, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. You know that your earlier comments about, not attacking a person personally, but to attack their behavior or what they do, what they say. But it's so difficult to do that because, you get emotionally worked up on it. On WLS, stuttering Chris Plant. He makes a living on the radio cussing out the left wing.
Yeah.
And he's really brutal about it. Calling us, radical left wing communists, murderers, this, that, burning down the house type of people.
Mm-hmm.
He even, about a month ago, he even compared the left wing to the Jim Jones cult over in Guyana from about 45 years ago, where at his word, he made hundreds of people drink cyanide Kool-Aid. But this is what he does for a living. So it's difficult to not want to just, cuss on my back. Mark Levin, a trained attorney, longtime guy, working all the way back with the Nixon administration, attacks the left wing, calling us Marxists. And I'm looking around. So, where the heck are they?
Well, so
I don't see them.
See, here's the thing, George. Let me. First of all, thank you for your contribution to the show, and thank you for highlighting that part of the conversation. We're going to be coming up on a break, but I want to just say this to you: you can do both. In fact, I'm encouraging you to do both. If you got to call somebody that say that they are stupid and that their actions are stupid, then that's what you may have to do. I wasn't saying to exclusively never call someone stupid or never call someone a racist or those things. I'm saying if you're having a difficult time saying to someone that they are, then you can say that their actions are. But I'll just give you this. The reason that these guys that you just described get away with it is because there's no one there to challenge them. They're in their bubble and they don't get challenged. I get challenged and I don't like it, but I try to embrace it as best I can. And I don't agree with some of the things that people challenge me on, not because they challenge me, but because of where their basis is not, built in reality. But we are responsible for challenging him, those guys, calling the show, letting them know that this guy is off his rocker or whatever it is that you choose to say. And I'll be honest with you, I'm always willing to take the fight on. I'm willing to take the fight to that sort of vile, disgusting conversation coming out of the mouths of those people. And so you are equally empowered, just in a different way. So don't shy away from the fight, George. Lean into it. It's okay to lean into it. And sometimes if it gets salty, it gets a little salty. That's all right. So, okay.
And Richard, Morton Arboretum, it's a great place, but also for us locals who can't make it out to Lyle, the Lincoln Park Conservatory and the Garfield Park Conservatory are pretty nice places to visit.
Yeah.
Lincoln Park, they got their train set up during Christmas time. It's great. It's cold outside and it's warm there.
Yep.
In Garfield Park, they got some plants there that go up. Well, both conservatories have growth there over 100 years of age that is really amazing to see, and so forth. So, Richard, to you and yours, have a good afternoon.
You too. Thanks, George. Have a great day. All right, guys, let's hit this quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. I know that Devin's going to be grabbing your calls as you're calling in. And we've got our guest, Bryce Covert, that'll be with us in the 7:30 hour. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. On March 25th, 1911, in Manhattan, a fire at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory killed 146 workers, who were mostly women. The victims of the fire were unable to leave the burning high-rise building due to the exits being locked and were forced to leap to their deaths from the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors. Locking doors was a common practice to reduce theft and unauthorized breaks at workplaces. As a result of the fire, the New York State Legislature formed the Factory Investigating Commission, whose findings led to 38 new laws regulating labor. Some of the new laws mandated better egress, the installation of better alarm and sprinkler systems, and increased availability of fire extinguishers. Coincidentally, the American Society of Safety Professionals was formed, which now manages, researches, and consults occupational safety and health across 75 countries. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with temperatures steady early then slowly falling throughout the day. Breezy southwest winds around 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low near 44. By Wednesday, we'll have a chance for some rain showers here late, increasing clouds, a high of 61 degrees. Thursday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, high of 69. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 75.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. So I said earlier in the show in terms of who we would have on as guests, we're kind of covering the full gamut today. A national issue covered by one of the great contributing writers at The Nation, talking about McDonald's and still having some issues when it comes to sexual harassment problems. This kind of hit the airways and media last year, and Bryce Covert, who's a contributing writer at The Nation, has another great story, a new feature that's going to be hitting, I think it's coming out now. Bryce, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me on.
You are welcome. So, Bryce, your article's coming out. Has it come out, or is it going to be coming out?
So it's online now, and I believe it'll be on newsstands pretty soon.
Okay, so tell us, first of all, Bryce Covert, The Nation, contributing writer. Tell us a little bit about yourself. This is the first time you've been on my show, but I know you've been on the various talk shows, and you are not you're not new to this. But tell our audience a little bit about your background and a little bit about your work at The Nation.
Sure. So I'm a freelance journalist. I've been a journalist for over 15 years at this point, and I write a lot about economics and labor. And so I've been following issues like unfair working conditions and, importantly, sexual harassment for a long time, and had been watching what had been going on at McDonald's. Workers have been speaking out through lawsuits. They've been speaking out through strikes. And so I started sort of tuning into what they were saying and following it. Wrote a feature about it for The Nation in 2020, and then this most recent piece is a follow-up to that.
So tell us about the piece in 2020, and then let's connect the dots to where we are today.
Yeah, so that piece, again, I was talking to workers. I was looking through over 24 lawsuits, trying to piece together what was going on inside McDonald's at the time. There had been a survey that had found that 3/4 of non-managerial female employees said that they had been sexually harassed, which is just a very, very high rate in a particular workplace. And so that piece was really taking a look at the fact that although sexual harassment can happen in any workplace, in McDonald's it had really become endemic, and it was really egregious. So it was just happening very frequently. It was there were incidents that were very disturbing, and so that piece was just kind of describing this problem that the company really hadn't done much to face up to yet. That plus some other reporting around some sex scandals that hit the CEO at the time prompted a response from the company, and so they promised to do something about it and that they were going to fix the problem with what they were calling a new global brand standards, and that was going to take effect in January 2022. So this piece is taking a look at, okay, the company said it was going to do something about this really egregious problem. Did it do anything, and did it work? And essentially what I found is not really.
So the answer is no, then, because if you're even being kind and saying not really, because in a space like this with such a serious issue that impacts all of us, anything other than yes unequivocally is a no. So kudos to you for being bold enough to state that. So Bryce, let me ask you this question, because I'm sure our listeners want to kind of get when they, this is what happens. Because of how we've all been socialized. You think McDonald's and you think the restaurant itself, the store front that you walk into to get your Quarter Pounder with cheese and your fries and your Diet Coke. Sound familiar? Okay. But that's not just where this is taking place, but kind of help us or help the listeners have a little bit better understanding. Is this store? Is this corporate? Is it both? What were your findings? What did your findings reveal?
Well, I'm mostly focusing in this piece on what's going on inside the stores, but I think there's good reason to believe that it's a culture that's up and down the corporate chain. I mean, like I said, the former CEO had gotten himself embroiled in multiple sexual scandals. I have heard some corporate employees who I wasn't able to include in this piece who said that they had been harassed too. When there's a culture of permissiveness and not doing anything to respond to sexual harassment, it tends to flow from the top. Because if the corporate headquarters were really taking this seriously, they would be mandating serious changes and policies that would actually have an effect down at the restaurant level, and that is clearly not happening. So I think it's really a problem throughout McDonald's.
Well, the evidence would probably bear that out in terms of the fact that you're right. Corporate, we'd have to say that any organization that has an issue downline, that downline issue has been endorsed by inaction or action from those above. And obviously, you've covered so many different things nationally, politically, that, this is a symptom of what we see with some of our executives in corporations, in the church, and I say that, kind of globally, the church, and most certainly with our current political situation. We're seeing it that top down is dictating action, if not policy, in with regular everyday working folks. And you've seen this is true with this situation with McDonald's, because so many of the stores are franchise-owned stores, right?
That's correct. And so the vast majority of McDonald's locations, when you walk into a McDonald's, is probably run not by corporate headquarters, but by some local business owner who owns a handful in your area. And typically, McDonald's corporate has sort of tried to pass off responsibility for things like sexual harassment by saying, well, we don't run those stores. That franchise owner runs it, and we have nothing to do with it. And they've actually gotten themselves out of a lot of these sexual harassment lawsuits that people have brought. What was interesting about what they said they were going to do as of January 2022 is they said that this new solution, these global brand standards that were going to fix the problem, were going to apply not just in corporate-owned stores, but also in franchise locations, and they were going to hold franchisees accountable, which was a really unique and potentially very significant step. The challenge is I got a chance to look at the details of the global brand standards, and there's very little there. There's very little that they're actually requiring. They're not evaluating whether anything is actually changing. And so while they are telling franchisees they have to adhere to these new standards, by doing so, the franchisees aren't actually even changing anything on the ground. And I know from talking to workers, sexual harassment is very much still happening at high rates in these stores. And when workers report it and try to get something to be done about it, nothing is done. And in fact, often it's the workers who speak up who are the ones who are disciplined and retaliated against.
Well, and isn't it true, too, from what I was reading on this, that even though McDonald's corporate had this position of a global standards, that they didn't effectively communicate that to the franchise owners. And then once again, top down, bottom suffers. The franchise owners didn't effectively communicate what those standards are to their employees. Am I on the right track here, or am I off base?
Yeah, essentially, one of the problems I found is that McDonald's corporate has worked very hard to keep the details of these standards secret. So while they may be shared with a franchise owner who's being held accountable to them, they are not shared with the workers in the stores, or the vast majority anyway. And they are also not shared with the public. And I tried to get them to publicly reveal them. Lawyers have also tried to get them to reveal them, and they've worked very hard to keep them under seal. So I had to sort of go around them just to find out, what are these standards, what are the details, and are they having any effect? And I think that secrecy works against this as a solution. If the workers don't even know, first of all, that there is a change in protocol, and then what that protocol is, what the expectations are, you're not going to change behavior. You're not going to change culture, because workers don't understand that potentially they want you to stop harassing people, and there will be consequences if you do.
It seems sometimes, Bryce, the most common things, the most sensible things, and the simplest things don't get done. It would seem that we know that proximity has a lot to do with this. You got folks of age groups between 16 and whatever working at a McDonald's location. They're buzzing around each other. They've got tight spaces, and they're navigating hot equipment and this, that, and the other. So we know that there's going to be an occurrence to bump into somebody. There's going to be an occurrence to have just that natural proximity of, working in a restaurant where you're going to brush up against people. But from what I'm understanding, that's not where these things are taking place. Is that what your findings have been? That it's not just that fact that you're working close to somebody, it's happening in other parts of the restaurant. Am I right there, or am I off base?
Well, certainly, yeah. It's not just sort of accidental bumping into each other. I mean, the examples of harassment that workers were telling me about, a lot of it was really purposeful. People luring, one 15-year-old was lured into the back by a dumpster, and she was sexually assaulted there. And that comes from a culture of permissiveness. That comes from someone feeling like they are not going to suffer any consequences if they engage in this horrible behavior. And in fact, nothing was done to that employee until the police got involved. McDonald's employees did not discipline this worker who sexually assaulted his coworker until the police got involved. And look, yes, McDonald's is a workplace where you have a lot of conditions that are ripe for sexual harassment. Like you said, a lot of teenagers work there. A lot of teenagers are in charge, are the managers and the supervisors. It's fast-paced, it's close quarters, it's hot. But there are still plenty of things that a company like McDonald's could do to alleviate this problem and really do something about it. Workers themselves have been begging the company to sit down with them and talk about their ideas, to institute really substantive trainings, to have really strong, understandable, very clear policies, to train supervisors to say, when someone reports harassment to you, this is how you investigate it, and this is what you do if you find that it actually occurred. It's not rocket science, but it does take a little extra effort, and I think it's pretty clear from what I uncovered that McDonald's has not taken those extra steps.
And it would seem to be so easy for a company of this size and magnitude to be able to put that together and make it plain. I mean, it's the fact that people have to show up for different shifts. at a McDonald's, to me, it would make it fairly easy to say, okay, we're going to pay you for overtime. Come in a half an hour early. We're going to go. We want to sit down, and your shift manager is going to go, or shift supervisor is going to go through some of the updates in our protocol. I mean, call me crazy, but if I were a franchise owner, Bryce, if you and I owned a franchise, and 3 other people that we know really well owned 10 McDonald's franchises, there is no way in hell I would want there to be an issue with sexual harassment, because there's enough danger from walking around hot equipment all day long. But to not have a very stern, if you get appropriate, and they've got cameras at McDonald's as well. That's the other thing that blows me away, how a franchise owner could even let him or herself get in a situation where they don't take it upon themselves to say, that's unacceptable. I mean, am I crazy?
Yeah, look, I think some franchise owners may not know what to do. They may not feel like they have the resources or the time. But look, McDonald's corporate controls so much of what happens inside a McDonald's. When you walk into any McDonald's across the globe, you will have the same temperature fries. People will be wearing the exact same uniforms. They will greet you in the exact same way. All of that is dictated by McDonald's corporate. They have extensive training on how to fry the fries, on how to make the burgers, on how to smile when people walk in. For McDonald's to claim that they can't institute that kind of extensive training and evaluation for something like sexual harassment, I mean, it's just not true. The company absolutely has the power to do this. It just hasn't.
It has not only the power, it has the resources to do it. Yes. I mean, if this is not to make light of a situation. If they can train a person how to navigate that doggone French fry machine, they sure as heck can train a person how to keep their hands off of somebody else, I think, or at least make it painful for those who commit those acts, because it's got to be unacceptable. And we can lock into McDonald's, but I think across the industry that has to be the case. There's a caller that we have on hold. We're not going to go to the call, but he's asking a general question about McDonald's and U.S. politics, and I don't know specifically what he's asking in that regard. So I'll sort of, capsulize the thought process. This is not just a McDonald's issue. This is a national issue when it comes. We've fallen, I think, behind in terms of how nationally we are dealing with sexual harassment issues in the workplace. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listeners will remember in 2018 the Me Too movement, where people were really speaking up en masse about this issue, and I think it was really taken seriously at the time. This is the time when also McDonald's workers were really starting to gain momentum speaking out about this. And I think it's true, we are in a different moment now. I mean, look at the folks populating the White House. So I think that's part of the story here, is that perhaps McDonald's does not feel that it has to change. Maybe it does not feel that there is a demand that it do things differently. I would like to think that's not true, but I think if that is, then we have to do better. We have to work on this. Sexual harassment is not an inevitability. It is something that happens and flourishes when we decide that we don't care. As soon as we care, as soon as we start saying that is not allowed, this is not going to be tolerated, behavior changes, culture changes. So I hope that we have not lost that momentum completely.
And repercussions have to be in place when it comes to this. And this is personal for so many of us. You're out there as a journalist, as a well-known, respected writer. And so you've certainly been in situations where that respect was tested, and that personal space was tested. That the gentleman that was on hold did ask, how do we expect corporations to do better when we elected a man who has done this behavior? I think that kind of puts it plain to what you were just saying.
Yeah, I agree. It is hard, I think, for McDonald's to feel that it has to change when we've elected who we've elected and he's picked who he's picked to run his White House. But I don't think that means that Americans don't care. I just think that it means that we have to mobilize more. We have to speak out more. We have to take it more seriously. And the more we do that, the more corporations like McDonald's feel like this is not something that they can just write off and ignore. It's something that they are going to have to take seriously, or there will be some public relations consequences. Certainly they felt that way back in in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
So it can happen again.
Well, the other thing too, to your credit and to your point, the more that we highlight and allow people to feel safe in talking about it, I think that's the thing that was happening with Me Too, is that people were feeling a little bit more safe about talking about the harassment issues, whether they be male or female, or particularly members of the LGBTQ community. And so I think one of our opportunities, Bryce, to your point, is to give people the sense of safety that they can talk about it. Because as that happens, as we saw with the Me Too, lots of companies were like, okay, we got to deal with this. We got to make sure we've got our ducks in order and are handling this the right way. And to me, it seems like the simple right thing to do, to respect another person in that way. Nobody should be putting their hands and whatever else on somebody in the workplace, period. So I think we have to be sort of the leaders of that, voices like yours and voices like mine, to continue to champion that conversation. So, Bryce, what else you working on these days? I know you're busy.
I'm very busy. The Trump administration is definitely keeping me busy, so I'm working on trying to figure out what's going on the ground with all the changes to the federal government, for sure. And yeah, just always keeping an ear out for what workers are saying are happening in their workplaces. I'm always interested in hearing, if there's abuses taking place, if there's unfair things taking place. I've written a lot about that, so I'm always here for a tip from a worker who wants to talk to me.
Well, and to that end, I want to definitely invite you to be back on the show because of what you've written in the past, certainly, but some of the things that you're going to be working on in the future, which is why I asked you that question, because I want our listeners to hear from you and how you do such a great job of highlighting and just drilling down on a topic, particularly when it comes to workplace conversations. So I'm gonna make the ask right now publicly on the radio that you decide to come back and be with us a little bit more in the future. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. I would love to.
All right. Well, Bryce Covert, thank you for being with us this morning. We really appreciate that, but more importantly, we appreciate the hard work that you're doing with all of your wonderful writing and your contributions to this conversation. Thanks for being with us, Bryce. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye now.
Bye. So
there you go. Not just the conversation around McDonald's and the sexual harassment that she's written about. You guys want to check out the article. It's really it's a eye-opening article on this conversation. And to credit to Earl, who asked the question, how do we expect corporations to do better when we elected a man who has done this behavior? So great question, Earl. Thank you for that. But check out Bryce's work at The Nation. We will have her back. She's a phenomenal writer. And I think you guys will appreciate what she's been doing. And her latest article is online, and you can go to The Nation for that, and it's going to be out in print in the next couple of days. So let's see if we can squeeze in a couple real fast. Let's go to Roosevelt real fast. Roosevelt, good morning and welcome to the show.
Richard, thank you for taking my call, my brother.
Absolutely. What's going on?
Hey, listen, to add on to what you said earlier, as far as the 50 years, the three presidents, Obama, Clinton, Biden. Conversely, look who raised taxes. Remember Read My Lips?
Yep.
That's why he was only there for one term.
Yep.
And Reagan, I believe, well, I don't know if I got this right. Didn't he raise them 10 or 11 times? He raised taxes in 8 years. He had 2 terms.
Yeah, the problem, the direction that you're kind of going, which I think the broad stroke of this is, to your point, the counter to that is that Republicans have done exactly the opposite in succeeding in that space. They've inevitably caused an increase in taxes because of the deficit that they created by taking away taxes on the wealthier people. And so it's just like they're supposed to be the ones that understand this stuff, but they're stupid at it in their actions. So yeah, I hear you, man. I really do. Good point. You've been doing well?
Yeah, fantastic. How about yourself?
Yeah, always a pleasure to be here in the morning for you guys. And so, Roosevelt, good.
I love your show, man, but it's hard to get through. You got a lot of callers, and you got a lot of, your show is hot, brother. Your show is hot, and to have a show that popular this early in the morning, It's big. That's all I got to say. Loaded with information, and I appreciate what you said today as far as our three presidents.
Appreciate you,
man.
man.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Roosevelt. Appreciate that support and contribution. Let's see if we can squeeze in Robert real quickly before we wrap up. Robert, you got a minute. Go for it.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to compliment Bryce in her presentation. If the left started to seize on those types of issues of sexual harassment in the workplace, that is such a large group that affects so many people, you couldn't help but win elections. But the reason I called in was to sort of punctuate on what you said about leaning forward. I think everybody listening to this should realize we don't have to wait for a constitutional crisis. We're there already.
Yep.
Anybody that says you can, if you're waiting for the Supreme Court, they can play us like a big, bass drum. I recommend that every single American look at the amendment in the Bill of Rights that politicians never talk about, and it's the 9th Amendment. And what it does, it exclusively gives to the people all rights that are not enumerated in that Constitution.
Yep.
And believe me, there is tremendous power in the amendment that no politician will ever talk about. And that's our path to dealing with fascists. You can't deal with fascists using the regime and the methodologies that have failed and allowed this clown to become powerful. We have to look at those things that have never been talked about. In the 9th Amendment, that's it. It totally announces the people ultimately have the greatest amount of power. And again, I'll cut it right there. And I got to say a high five to Bryce. That woman is thinking. She's talking about wide-based issues that people will go, yeah, I can get behind that.
You're right. Listen, man, it's always good to hear from you, Robert. Stay safe, and thank you so much for your contribution to the show.
Same to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, good point, and I'm going to have to lean into that and maybe talk with Bryce about that in the future. But yes, that's a topic. Dems across the board on a local, city level, regional, state, national. We need to talk. We need to make sure that we're not forgetting that, because think about the people in terms of a middle class or working class conversation that are impacted by harassment in the workplace in jobs that are like those at McDonald's and so many other places. That's a conversation that we can embrace. And I appreciate Robert for identifying that, and his compliments to Bryce. I'll have to pass that on to Bryce. Man, we've been running hard today, Devin, but that's what we get to do here. And I appreciate the comments from Robert. I appreciate the comments from all of you guys that called in. Shout out to my man, Kurt Herner in Akron, Ohio, for always plugging us into history and how it connects us to where we are today. So thanks, guys, for being with us this morning. And as I always say, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
The Sports Cubicle. Commissioner of the American Association of Professional Baseball, Joshua Schaub.
So our players are not playing to develop to make it to the major leagues. They play for the name on the front of their jersey. They play for each other, and they play to win. So the style of baseball is completely different. They're literally trying to get guys out. They're literally trying to move runners over. They're trying to win the game. So I just want to note that difference as well.
The Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights